Ahoy there, it's me, your old pal, Cowboy Kevin. Thanks for checking this out. It's only the new UK pay-per-view Bono Extravaganza. We're looking at Rebellion 2002 as voted by you, the fans, over at our Facebook page. Just want to give a quick shout out to all of our amazing backers over at patreon.com/AE podcast, helping keep this show 100% fan and listener supported, ad-free and sponsor-free since the inception. And if you want to, you can become a backer over on that Patreon page. Get access to everything, including the SmackDown Crawl, over 70 episodes, all those video episodes with myself, Adam and Billy, all the wild side ventures like the Big Show, or the Bibliotech or Book Report series. Some free examples here if you checked out the Hardy Boys. Maybe you want to see the second part of that and see how it ends for Daddy and the gang. Or maybe you want to check out our latest, it's the Big Apple Takedown. We are on to our second part. We'll be dropping very, very shortly. And there's a new comic special with Adam and Billy as well to wet your whistle with. All this and more available at patreon.com/AE podcast. And hey, once again, a big shout out to everyone who supported us in the last 12 months. But for now, let's settle in. It's time for a UK pay-per-view. It's time for Rebellion 2002. Hello everyone and welcome to the Attitude Era podcast, Bono UKO Voto Fans Special Edition. It's me, your old pal, Cowboy Kevin, joined as I am always in these UK pay-per-view reviews by UK's own Adam Bigelow.
Hey Kevin. Rebellion.
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 I need to have Windy Pops. I've got a bit of rebellion here. Somebody needs to give me a Rennie or something like that. Adam, this was a unique UK pay-per-view offering. Now, we have, if you've not seen, a best of UK pay-per-view episode special super bumper episode that has just been released on the timeline. This was kind of like, we thought it'd be a nice chance to spite people who were like, a best of, and provide them with a mirror to new content as well at the same time. So we had a vote for this for the first time ever for a UK pay-per-view.
That we did. We had our options of Rebellion 2002, Insurrection 2002, or Insurrection 2003. And I will say, it was kind of close between this and Insurrection 03, I believe. But Rebellion 2002 came out on top easily, and people in the comments seem to be very passionate about this winning.
It was interesting. I wonder if it's because you and I are Manchester citizens currently, if that's the reason why people felt so strongly. I know there was a lot of love in the comments as well for Insurrection 02 as it pertains to the plane ride from hell, which I've taken great joy in talking about over and over on How To Wrestling, but we've never had a chance to sink our teeth into it here. So, you know, these are UK pay-per-views. We'll get to them eventually, right?
Exactly. We're going to do them all. And yes, we did actually, you may have noticed that we didn't mention Insurrection 01 there, folks, but don't worry, we've not forgotten about it. Likewise, like Kevin said there, we are going to get round to it. We have got plans to do that eventually.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, we do have plans. The plans are to ignore that pay-per-view, never do it, ever.
For some reason, we picked Over the Edge 1999 and Insurrection 2001 that we're never doing.
So, this is the first UK pay-per-view that we've done in an age.
Yeah, this is the first one we've done in a good while. The last one we managed to sink our teeth into was One Night Only 1997, which you may well have blocked out of your memory like I did because it was such a fucking miserable affair.
Yeah, the thing is, my body's healing factor just patched over the part of my brain to get rid of that sad trauma that I've not had to think about since. UK pay-per-views, One Night Only being the exception, they tend to be a fun experience indeed, because it's usually the nice mix of wrestlers, I don't say not trying, but we do have, we absolutely do have our fun time house show roller skates on for most of the evening. And that's always a good time. And also, it is in the MEN, and I recognized the outside shots, and I was like, I would take an Uber from there now normally. What I would do.
There was a few people, because we put the call out. Obviously, we have quite a lot of listeners in the UK, so we put the call out for anyone that has attended this show. And I did notice on Facebook there was a few people that were saying, like, oh yeah, one of my memories is that the arena was like a train station of sorts. Like, people don't get the Manchester Evening News Arena, Kevin.
I think it's fucking great. Like, the best thing in the world you want to do when you finish a show, you just get straight on a train and you get the fuck out of there. That's absolutely brilliant.
Easy.
You want to feel like you're in the Warriors when you go to a wrestling show? Head down to the MEN. You have a grand old time indeed.
Or do like we did and see What Culture Pro Wrestling at the Altrincham Ice Rink, and then you can hop on a tram straight afterwards and get the fuck away from there.
Now, I feel strange saying this because usually when we've been doing this recently, it's been to talk about the WWA.
Yeah.
We're not. We're talking about something that's probably a lot near and dear to people's hearts. So you put the call out on Twitter at a podcast. Give us an follow, videos and all that jazz over there, folks. What were some of the memories and thoughts people had, or fans of Rebellion 02?
Well, we got quite a lot of like lovely memories and input and people sharing their experiences, and I will pepper them throughout the show. But off the bat here, I will say one of the most common things I noticed, and this is from a lot of people that both watched it on pay-per-view or went to see it live in person in attendance. There was a lot of folks saying, I saw this, I was there, I don't remember anything. That was really common. So many folks don't remember jack shit about this show.
I think, like, in the nicest way possible, and to bury the lead thoroughly, it is a forgettable show.
It kind of is.
But that's not a bad thing. I say in wrestling, sometimes you need a forgettable show, Adam.
Yeah, forgettable doesn't make it a bad show by any means. Like, we'll get into it, but I will say, while this show doesn't have any sort of big, wacky Bulldog has given Stephanie amnesia or anything like that, it doesn't stop it from being a fine show that moves at a decent pace. Now, the other big, most common thing that people had in terms of memories from this show, mild spoiler alert here, folks, but The Undertaker was advertised to be main eventing this, and he got pulled from the show for reasons that we'll get into shortly. But a lot of folks have very vivid memories of queuing up to go inside and seeing a big plain sign outside it with very blunt language saying, Undertaker isn't here tonight. Just because they had to tell the fans before they got into the building so they could clear themselves of any legal issues.
It's a very interesting time for wrestling fandom. We're in the midst of 02 now. We're well into the brand split.
Oh, yeah.
Paul Heyman in charge of SmackDown for the most part. We're entering into this kind of amazing SmackDown 6 era, high work rate. SmackDown and Raw, I would argue, very, very different shows indeed.
Oh, yes, they are right now.
And while in America, the appetite, particularly for the house show business and sitting down and watching it on Monday nights, seems to be dwindling away at an alarming rate. I don't want to say rats flee in a sinking ship, but I mean, there's quite a pace at which people were stopping watching wrestling forever.
Yeah.
But over in the UK, and I'll include Ireland as well as part of this bracket, there was a bottomless, insatiable hunger, desire, thirst, whatever you want to call it. We wanted to see wrestling, because if you got to see wrestling over in this neck of the woods, what it was very small little shows, family shows, rock and roll style American wrestling with someone dressing up pretending to be Bob Holly and Kane. And while there's not anything wrong with that, it is, since we hadn't yet arrived upon the let's present wrestling as big as we possibly can. There was no one trying to run an arena or trying to like present a WWE style show. So the only way to see a show like this was to see WWE. If I recall, when we talked about in the 2000s, WCW had a hellaciously successful tour in the UK because we just wanted to see wrestling in an arena with a Titantron and pyro.
That's it. Even the WWA, if you remember when we talked about their UK shows, those were some of the ones that sold the best when they went on tours, because you could, back then, I don't know about nowadays, but back then at least, you could definitely rely on the UK to always be a hot market for sure.
Yeah, and that's what they told Five Star Wrestling when they ran the MEN.
Oh, every
and
time.
500 people in the ring. Where were the rest of ye? You told me it was insatiable. You idiots. Rey Mysterio in the ring going, I'm going to wrestle like it's a full arena. No, you're fucking not. Stop lying. Stop it.
Now, you mentioned there a very key important thing about this show for me, because I know that you and Billy have been diving into some stuff from like around the Ruthless Aggression era together. But for me, this is the first time that we've done anything on the podcast that is post-brand split. We're looking at 2002, Raw and SmackDown.
And is this post Adam watching regularly?
Yes. Oh, yeah, I had stopped at this point. I was still getting the video games, I think. I don't think I ever took a break from buying the games, so I was always relatively up to date with the roster and what's generally going on. But I had long since stopped watching wrestling at this point. But you saying there about SmackDown and Raw being very different shows right now, that is true. Because obviously SmackDown, like you say, SmackDown 6, high work rate, cruiserweights, classic wrestling matches going on.
And I will say as well, with Paul Heyman at the helm, lots of sleazy shit as well, like Tori and Dawn.
Oh,
which
of
we'll get
course.
into.
It can't all be good. It's still the Ruthless Aggression era, let's not forget. But, meanwhile, over on Raw, this show that we're looking at today, Rebellion 2002, is coming to us 1 week after the infamous Katie Vick angle where Triple H had sex in a casket.
Come on, baby. Yeah,
That's where we are.
That's our harsh palate cleanser compared to the SmackDown 6 era. I will say, in terms of a period in wrestling that probably doesn't get the look in it should, it really has to be 02, and I'd say early 03 SmackDown as well. I think that period of time from the brand split until the summer after WrestleMania 19 is some of the best wrestling ever. And I remember, in terms of, if you like a WWE product, you know, if it's not for you, it's not for you. But like, I remember there being a lot of things that I was super duper passionate about, like random wrestlers getting pushes who weren't normally getting pushes, like strange new characters for people who've had the same characters for forever and ever and ever. And it feels like one of the great experimental times in professional wrestling.
Well, I will say to that end, yeah, you saying that this doesn't get a look in, obviously I've not seen much of this era, but the way I can relate to that is that I often do feel that SmackDown Shut Your Mouth doesn't get a look in terms of classic PS2 games.
Oh, baby.
And that was this era, baby, because I remember playing that one and being like, oh, Raw and SmackDown, they're different things now. Oh, who's that strange blonde old man that says woo a lot, and why is Austin giving him a stunner? Like,
here's a question then. Like, you said you weren't watching wrestling at this point. If you were to have taken the temperature on the playground or whatever it was,
no.
Was there any appetite for it in your school?
At this point in time, it was firmly not just we don't watch wrestling anymore, but wrestling is for little kids. That was the attitude in my playground. Was sort of like, if there was, I think there was maybe 1 or 2 kids that did actually still watch wrestling, and they were talked about with very much the attitude of like, you still watch wrestling? Okay, yeah. You still watch Rugrats as well, do you? Like that kind of attitude.
Never stop feeling sorry for folks who felt like they couldn't enjoy wrestling, like had to enjoy it in. The worst thing is then having to enjoy it in secret is feeling like, oh, I probably just shouldn't watch it all together, you know?
Honestly, one of my biggest shames now looking back is that I totally joined in on the pylon back in those days. I was very much going along with the like, yeah, everyone, look at him. He's got a wrestling magazine tucked away in his bag trying to make sure that no one can see it. Let's have a go at him for watching wrestling because it's stupid. I joined right in with that brigade, Kevin, and it keeps me awake at night.
You would have made fun of the lad who had all the lyrics of Undertaker's entrance theme on his pencil case as well, you know? It was a very odd time for me as a fan. I mentioned this kind of briefly before, but my kind of gang that I watched wrestling with between the ages of 10 and 14 thereabouts, they all stopped watching. It was like dropping like flies. It was like WrestleMania 17, half of them stopped watching. Once the invasion started, I came back after summer. I was like, what about that invasion, guys? Everyone was like, what about that invasion?
Aww.
But in the oddest about face ever, and this is one of the few great things about going to an all-boys boarding school for your secondary years, was that Brock Lesnar was a fucking golden calf of an idol for the JCT and the SCT, the Leinster Rugby boys in my school. And all of a sudden, I used to be the boy who would sneak down at night and stuff crisp packets in the lock so you couldn't lock the TV room. So me and the boys could sneak in and watch wrestling, as one dean once put it, like fucking rats. Because we'd bring down our blankets and hide underneath them so no one could see us through the windows at 4 in the fucking morning. Cut to 2002, when the pay-per-view experience was a load of fucking 18-year-olds on creatine and steroids going, fucking Brock Lesnar and Big Show in the main event.
God.
And we'd have a great old time, and I'd be filling them in on the little bits of information. and they'd be getting all vascular and angry and just have to start pulling down bits of drywall when matches didn't go the way they liked. Adam, it went from being a little boy time to a positive beef house. That's what happened.
This, honestly, I know I've made the comparisons of like, wow, it sounds like prison before now, but it is, you know how like gangs in prison will be like, hey, let's keep the guy with the glasses because he knows a lot about this subject or whatever. He might come in handy later on.
Yeah, I'm the Tobias Beecher of this group here from Oz. Well, I can hear the rumblings right now. The people are rising up, so let's get ready. It's time for Jibrillion.
I am sad. Sad about what has taken place. Sad about the changes that have happened. Sad for those who have fallen. There has been a shift in power, a new set of rules. Unfriendly forces have taken control, and they take such pleasure in the pain of others, mocking the misery and feeding off of the failures. This is the place we are in. But I have hope. I have heard that history repeats itself, that the good things will come back to us again if we believe and we are patient. And even when those who are the mightiest seem all but invincible, that they too can fall. I know times will be like they were, and I know through struggles that this can be overcome. We have spoken. Our strength will help them rise. I now sense the forces will be shaken. I now feel a new change is in motion. I now see an uprising is taking place, and I know it cannot be stopped. I now have hope. I know the rebellion has begun.
Oh, Kevin, how about that package?
Whoa! Unbelievable.
Did you catch the opening line, the first sentence we hear on this pay-per-view?
What was this is from they had like Freddie Blassie, but they had managed to turn him into a little boy.
Yeah, this was a tiny child. Again, kind of similar to how I guess you must be feeling looking at all of your friends that have stopped watching wrestling. The first line we hear in this show, I am sad. Sad about what has taken place. Sad about the changes that have taken place. There has been a shift in power. A new set of rules. Basically, this kid doesn't like the brand split from what I'm getting here. Like, he doesn't like the new WWE.
I couldn't reach out to this kid when I was his age. Like, that was my problem. There was a barrier between us. But I, too, like the little boy, had hope that history would repeat itself. And if you like history repeating itself, well, congratulations. You're watching professional wrestling, and it will repeat itself with smaller periods of time in between the repetitions between now and... Sorry, if you peer closer, you can hear the ring collapsing again.
Again. The good things will come back to us again if we believe and we are patient. So, you know, kid, you might not like the brand split, you might not like the way it's going, but if you hang in there, there's a Raw Super Show with your name on it one day in a good 10 years' time. You'll absolutely love it.
I gotta love the visuals matching up there when the little boy was, if we believe and we are patient, and it showed Chuck Palumbo, who is currently just after marrying Billy Gunn and then saying no homo though, and then it's like Billy Gunn and Chuck Palumbo, they like looking at girly mags and they're cool dudes, and they're such men that Billy Gunn has been injured like he has been once a year every year for his entire fucking career. So yeah, Chuck, you will have to be patient. You'll become a wise guy shortly, and then later on you'll become a biker, and we will remember you.
No, we won't.
Hey, this poster, can I just say, if you're looking on the network, this poster is just the Unforgiven 2002 poster at 75% zoom.
Yeah.
It's not right.
Colour changed. Clearly from the same photo shoot as the Here Comes the Pain video game cover as well. Like, they got a lot of money's worth out of Brock Lesnar doing those pictures.
Adam, oftentimes people will come to us and they'll say, hey, what is it you're looking to accomplish with this podcast? What is your goal? Are you trying to chronicle? Are you trying to document? Are you trying to inform? What is it ultimately? I don't know about you, but for me personally, I'm just doing all of this so at one point I will be given the Rebellion trophy as shown here in the opening graphics. that fist with the little kind of half-cog halo around it spinning around looks good.
It's just the Red Faction box art. I know I've said it before, but that is literally all it is.
Yeah, but the Red Faction one didn't spin. Do you know what you're talking? You know,
true.
It's kind of got knockoff Robot Wars or like runner-up in Robot Wars vibes to it.
But yeah, this is like a new era of wrestling, sure, because we got the brand split and we've got things have changed up. Things are considerably different to how they were 12 months ago. But we still have the classic Rebellion theme straight away. Classic branding, classic theme. It's all just how you remember it, just a little bit different.
I would say in terms of trying to get a true sense of what this period of SmackDown is like, we've probably picked one of the worst pay-per-views because I'd say half of this show will give you that sense. The other half is very much business as usual, WWE overseas. And this is always the best type of UK pay-per-view, the one that comes at the tail end of a lengthy tour. We were in Switzerland the night before. We were in fucking Cairo or whatever it is. You know, they're tired a little bit. So there are some changes, but I would be lying if I said the familiarity wasn't at least a bit overwhelming, particularly with that set design. That was very Armageddon 2000 in itself.
Oh yeah, the set. It's like a load of corrugated scrap iron with Union Jacks and St. George's crosses spray painted on them and Rebellion fists. God, it was more effort than you would expect them to put in for a UK set.
Oh yeah, the aesthetic was definitely Salford 40k. That's what I took away from it. And yes, we're in Manchester and we've got a very fiery crowd indeed. And who have we got on commentary? The fucking Dream Team. It's time for some Michael Cole and Taz with two Z's, baby.
I feel like I owe these two an apology because I'm pretty sure I've talked a load of mess about them on the podcast in the past. But for those that aren't joining us on patreon.com/AE podcast, we're currently at the point in SmackDown Crawl where we know Jerry Lawler's going to be gone any time now. And soon we're going to get Michael Cole and Taz on like a long-term basis. And Kevin, having watched this show, I can't fucking wait till we get more Taz on our SmackDown Crawl.
They are very silly here, and it's good because
very silly.
Taz is silly, but he's not. Like, we got a few glimpses of Taz on commentary earlier in the Crawl.
Yeah.
And we say commentary, it was mostly Taz laughing on a headset.
Good old MC.
And he's finally found that joke not funny anymore. And they do have a chemistry and a banter. And I think we can only say this now in 2021, where we are at the moment recording this, where everyone loves Taz and Michael Cole is just no one's got the energy to hate him anymore. These lads are probably one of the best commentary teams of modern times.
I feel like the best thing that ever happened to Michael Cole in terms of his public perception was that Beast in the East show they did in Japan where Vince wasn't like on the headset with him, so Cole just got to do whatever he wanted. And
the UK tournament as well, he had two nights of that. I remember that back in the day.
Since those shows, people have stopped hating Cole and I think started feeling kind of sorry for Cole. Like, oh, he has to put up with a lot, doesn't he? Bless him.
And they're not... there's probably a lot of people who are going to hear me say I think they're one of the best commentary teams or whatever, and they will absolutely scoff at that, and that's totally fine. But for me, what I look for in a commentary team, and it's not moves and analysis and all that. I mean, I'd like that to be part of it, but I really want my commentary team to reflect the three-ring circus of wrestling. You know, I want there to be analysis. I want there to be banter. I want there to be off-the-cuff remarks, and I want there to be scripted jokes and bits. I want the characters to come forward, but not to interfere with the action.
Yes.
And I think these lads pretty much nailed that. And I'd argue they nail it more than my actual favourite commentary team, JR and Paul Heyman, because those two guys... more than a few times got a bit sidetracked to the detriment of the performers.
And I will say, I've heard people say very, very nice things about this era of Taz and Cole before, and I've always had it in my mind that it's like, yeah, that's great that they're that good, but I think anyone could be good if Paul Heyman is pulling you back into the recording booth for 3 hours every week. But they don't have that luxury here. This is a live UK pay-per-view. They're doing all this live, and they still do a pretty damn serviceable job.
It shows you that if you're brought in, you're made to correct your mistakes and work on it, etc., that when you are off then off the leash, you're probably going to be better off than if you hadn't been given that extra. And I love that Cole and Taz have been on the record to say we hated that Heyman would bring us back in.
It sucked.
Because they'd have to go to Stanford to do that.
A lot more travel and work.
Yeah, and that's absolute fucking BS, so I'm sure it would feel like at the time. But they're a polished team here tonight. Less polished, I think, is the concept of Stephanie McMahon as a face GM. Oh, I hated this.
Oh, now, you see, my only memory of this, again, is from, I think, Here Comes the Pain. That was the first time I was like, wait, Stephanie's in charge of something now? And she's nice?
Wait, she's more grown up now as she listen and learn? She's True Sound finally getting a turn. Pablo Escobar. I'm like Breaking Bad, but cooler.
Still better than Welcome to the Queendom, baby.
Yeah,
Fucking
that's
hate
true.
That song.
That is officially the worst. She's like the anti-coach. Because Coach, every theme he has is pure rock solid gold. Steph, all the worst ones.
But I remember back in the day seeing this on PlayStation 2, being like, babyface Stephanie in charge of things. I'm well up for that. I'd never seen her actually cut a promo or have any actual camera time in this role until today, though.
It's really weird, Adam. I think it's so weird. They try to draw a line under the character that Stephanie was. And Stephanie, before this is like post-invasion Stephanie, where she's dressing like, I don't know, she's going to financially dominate you and Chris Jericho. And like every time she come out, Jericho would be like, look at how this young woman's dressed. You know, all this. To put over what a ridiculously over-the-top sexualized character she was. I will never forget when Stephanie, during that time, hurt her neck and came out in a black latex neck brace. That's a commitment to whatever the bit is. It's a commitment to it.
That's fucking hot, dude.
They try to draw a line under it, and it's like, no, Stephanie's not like that now. She's more grown up now. She listens and learns.
Stop it.
But finally getting her turn. But they would open SmackDown with her like bent over in a short mini skirt, being like, got your attention.
Oh,
the gimmick of how Stephanie is, because they keep saying like, you're just like your dad. It's like if Vince found himself now in the body of a sexy 30-year-old woman, and this is how he'd act. And it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get any of that tonight. I wasn't aware of that side of Stephanie. All we get here is kind of like a weak baby face. She doesn't seem very confident. No,
she was a lot stronger and more confident when she was in the ring asking John Cena to spank her to prove that he's a real man.
Sake.
And John was like, spank Stephanie McMahon! I think I like.
Yeah, it doesn't help that we're currently in 2001 on SmackDown Raw, where we're getting like pretty fucking black tar heroin evil Stephanie McMahon. And now we've got this really vague, kind of diluted and weak babyface GM. It's just nothing really stands out about this character. It seems very bland and forgettable to me.
I don't think there should be face GMs. Here's my hot take.
Oh.
I think there should be heel GMs. I know that people get all up in arms about heel GMs being like an overdone thing or whatever. I just think that, the heel boss, the baddie boss that you hate, if you think that's overplayed, just find new ways to make it work, because there are so many ways in which bosses can be horrible, and I think you can really put your thinking cap on. I don't think there should be face GMs. I think there should be neutral GMs who do nothing, and then heel GMs who are dicks in their own way. Face GMs always just comes across as like a bit damp. Like, I love Teddy Long making a tag team match as much as the next person, but like, I don't know, it always just seems like the most successful GMs people remember are the ones who either did fuck all or the ones who are like proper dictators. I like Gorilla Monsoon as a president because you never see him. You know that he's a decent guy, but he's not going to use that again. But where are you going putting everyone in a match with The Undertaker, Teddy Long? Abuse of power. Abuse of power.
Sorry, I was just sat here apprehensively waiting for fucking Adam Pearce to get mentioned yet again on a recording. But
well, Adam Pearce is so neutral he can't even get mentioned on a recording, Adam.
I think special mention to, like you say, Gorilla Monsoon there. I think if you have a beloved personality, like someone that is already like overwhelmingly loved by fans, like Mick Foley was when he was commissioner, then I think you can get a lot more mileage out of the babyface GM because they've got so much personality and there's already so much goodwill.
Yeah.
Stephanie McMahon definitely did not have that before turning into a babyface authority figure.
No, but I think Foley might be the lone exception because I love Foley, but I think it only worked because of it was nice to see someone be unfair to the heels because we had
Yeah.
so long in that period of time of the heels always getting one up on everyone all the time. I feel there is, a nice middle ground to be had with perhaps beloved figures. That's why Hogan and TNA as a GM works so well, you know?
Oh, Kevin. Fucking, there's nothing more cursed than any time you reference TNA. It just gives me this dark shiver that, like, yes, we're gonna do that eventually.
Immortal forever. That's all I'm saying. Have you not got the matching back tattoo? I sent you over the design. You all promised you'd get it with me. Otherwise, I'm going to look stupid.
So why is Stephanie here, Kevin? What's she got to tell everyone?
I want to welcome everyone to Rebellion. As we all know, SmackDown is the greatest brand in WWE, and we can't wait to show you our brand of blue supremacy here tonight.
Oof.
Also, The Undertaker's not here. Yay!
Now, I did some research before watching this show, and I made some notes, and I was like, oh, I got a little scoop here. I found the real reason why Undertaker's not here tonight. It's because any day now, Sarah's going to have a baby. And then out comes Stephanie McMahon, and she's like, the Undertaker can't be here after the vicious attack at the hands of Brock Lesnar in the Big Show. And also, he's having a baby any minute now. It's like, don't tell them that.
I was just kind of thinking, I could easily do right now what it would be like if WWE were to kind of portray The Undertaker's thoughts on Rebellion 2002.
Oh boy.
Hang on. Whoa, man, Rebellion. So that's what The Undertaker has to say about that.
Gotta love some modern day Mark Calloway, man. He's got his finger right on the pulse.
And tonight we have a make good because we were meant to get Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar, which I'm sure would have been fucking amazing because they're just after that Hell in a Cell match, which is one of, I think, the best Hell in a Cell that doesn't rely on a stunt or a big gimmick. It's like the match and the brutality all happens within the confines of that cell. And it's one of the only times I felt they used the cell as an environment without using it as a gimmick, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Great match. But they announced instead, we've got to make good because tonight in Manchester, in our main event, it's Hay taking on Brock Lesnar and Paul Eggman.
Wait, what? Hey?
Sorry.
Kevin.
Someone's going to be tweeting me, you made a mistake.
It's getting to the point now where I feel like I need some sort of decoder ring to figure out these announcements.
Gee, alright, it's Egg, brackets Edge, taking on Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. Okay, I got excited.
Was that
Paul.
so hard?
And I'm not the first one because every time Heyman got beat up, and Jim Ross was like, it's the Eggman, cuckoo ka-choo. I was being referential to a beloved period in wrestling.
Jesus Christ.
And one of the greatest subtle digs of all time, where she's like, now, as you all know, the Big Show is a member of SmackDown and not Monday Night Raw. And as a trade for that, we get Booker T from Raw on SmackDown for one night?
That was part of the deal. Like, she threw that in there as like a deal sweetener. Who did she trade for the Big Show exactly?
Oh, if I recall, it's like Stacy Keibler's involved, because I remember they did this whole thing where there was like a mole in Stephanie's office, and she thought it was Dawn Marie, and it turned out to be Stacy Keibler. So I'm pretty sure that was one of the Raw roster additions that we got as a result of this. But I'll tell you something I didn't expect, and I watched during this period, and I kind of listened back to people going like, oh, he was so over, and I was always kind of like, was he? And here, yeah, he fucking was.
Yeah.
Booker T, man. The pop for the book, man.
The five-time WCW champion, Booker T.
Can you dig it, sucker?
Holy shit!
Honestly, I read in the dirt sheets that before this, because it was known for a week or two beforehand, Undertaker's probably not going to be coming, and they're going to send Booker T over instead as a make good. And I read that and I was like, geez, is that going to go well? Really? Booker T is a replacement for The Undertaker? But then you see this here, and the fucking reception he gets is phenomenal. He is so over.
It's almost like they should put the belt on him at WrestleMania 19.
Honestly, I was going to say, it's not like it's undeserved or anything. He is so good here, so charismatic, so, like, undeniable. Like, you can't take your eyes off him when he's performing. It's such a piss take that he didn't get from this to being a legit main eventer.
I know it's the UK crowd and they're super fucking hot, full stop, but even by their standards tonight, and this is a crowd that even though they're hot, they're not like the WWA crowds we had where it was like, all right, you're hot to the point of you're being too good to what is being presented. They cool off at points.
Yeah, they're not this hot for every main eventer. Like, there are people tonight where I'm like, oh, I thought they'd get better than that. But Booker T, he gets a fucking hero's welcome.
Booker T and his opponent, your creator wrestler from 2002, Matt Hardy. I think I should have like cool big pants and like a t-shirt and like a long coat and like a special entrance. And he's not quite Ryback, but
no.
he is borderline over encumbered with his gimmicks here.
It's a lot. And I'm sure we mentioned this on the Exist to Inspire book report, but I still can't get over it every time I see this character. The fact that he chose to be version 1.0, like a buggy, unoptimized mess that's just launched. Like, 1.0 sounds so shit.
There are these characters in wrestling, and I know this is in my head at the moment because we reviewed a Honky Tonk Man match for our Dusty Rhodes episode recently on How to Wrestling, and we started talking about wrestlers who've got these characters you love because the gimmicks, they're shit, right?
Yes.
And they don't know it. And then you find out after the fact that they're really super protective of the gimmick.
Yeah.
And, like, Honky Tonk Man doesn't think his gimmick is he is shit. And Matt Hardy, certainly, if you watched any of those, you read any of those MySpace blogs back in the day, version 1's a meaning of laugh, man. Like, he's so fucking into it. And, like, when he comes out and you're like, what's the character of Matt Hardy? Michael Cole goes, Taz, he's a fool. That's the first thing he says.
There's nothing more disheartening to me than when you find out that the wrestler themselves aren't in on the joke with you. Like, you think there's this common understanding of like, oh yeah, this is what he's trying to do. And then you realize that like, oh no, we were laughing at him, not with him. Like, it's so gutting.
They would do this gimmick around the time with Matt Hardy where it was like Bob Holly and it was actually exactly like Bob Holly with the super heavyweight gimmick. You know, where he's like, my boys, Undertaker and Big Show ain't here tonight.
Yeah, the Big Shot.
They would have Matt Hardy, he'd be involved in a beatdown on the Undertaker, and have Heyman going, it's the most extreme thing I've ever seen, and you will become the main eventer you're always meant to be, Matt Hardy. And Brock's like laughing his ass off getting this jobber to go and try and beat up the Undertaker. And then Matt's like, yeah, me and Brock, we're tat, man. You know, we're and later on, like on those blogs, he'd be like, and you know, when I was main eventing with Brock on SmackDown, I thought my time had come, man. It's
dude.
Like, do you watch the fucking show?
Yeah, did you see how you were being presented there? Like,
so I love version 1, and like I know Matt's in a much different place now than he would have been. Like 05 and the stuff I'm referencing, he was in a fucking dark, twisted, messed up place, and I doubt he thinks that now. And Matt certainly doesn't take himself too seriously on AEW at the moment in 2021. But yeah, there's a lot of characters I think who fit that mold in wrestling who you get the suspicion that they're not in on the joke.
Yeah, it sucks. Which is one of the reasons why the Mean Street Posse's book was such a lovely read, because it was very much like, oh, this guy knew exactly who he was and exactly what he was there to do, and he was so in on the joke with us. Like,
and that was good to read Bob Holly's book as a comparison piece.
I thought the Big Shot was really cool. I liked going toe-to-toe with the Undertaker in the Big Show.
And when the Big Show threw a van on me, it's because that was the only way in kayfabe it was believable I would be beaten. Matt Hardy stoking the discontent in the masses here, talking about European attitude.
Kind of a weak promo. Even by UK standards, where you just kind of slip in the word Europe or whatever to make it a UK-themed promo, still very weak.
We got two things in spades here at the start of this match. We got the goo-goo and we got the gaga. Yep. There's all sorts of fucking hot dogging and grandstanding. This is the type of match that would make Randy Savage go, you're the hot dogging. This was great house show antics with Booker T showing what they refer to on commentary, and I assume they're road testing this, Bookitude.
Little bit of Bookitude for you there, Taz. They're doing like a test of strength thing where they're both putting one hand up and they're going closer together to reach them, and every time they're about to touch, Booker takes his hand back and he looks at his palm doing like the 5-time thing. To which every time Matt Hardy's just like, oh, there's no counter for that. What am I going to do now?
I love the Booker T 5-time taunt so much. I absolutely love it. As a heel, as a face, just the man looking at his hand and becoming perplexed. I adore any wrestler who gets like lost in the trance of their own taunt and like the curtains come down. I had literally just written about the Goo Goo and the Gaga, and Taz is like, I hate all this Goo Goo Gaga stuff.
That's why they don't invite you to commentate on house shows, mate. You just be a right spoil sport.
There is, the odd spot here and there, but they're working smart, not hard in this one. The crowd loves everything they're seeing. I would say I thought this was a bit much too in this first match where there was one bump to then on the second bump break out the fucking double count-out spot.
Yeah.
Like, whoa!
Come on.
2! Booker's really tired from looking at his hand. 3! That test of strength took it out of them. 4!
Every scene that didn't have dialogue was considered for slow motion, is basically what they're doing here. Now, they start talking on commentary about how Edge is going to have his first ever WWE title match tonight in England, and it's going to be such a big deal. And we get some of... I mean, even by Taz's standards, I was shocked. I listened to this bit, no exaggeration, 5 times, with headphones on, like trying to make out what he was saying. This is what we got here. Imagine if Edge wins the title here tonight in his hometown. He's from Canada, Taz. UK, Canada, it's all the same. They speak French, you know what I'm saying? Booker T, they drink a lot of tea over here. Spot of tea at 8. Huh, 8. 8 ball. Just to reiterate, that's UK, Canada, it's all the same. They speak French, you know what I'm saying? Booker T, they drink a lot of tea over here. Spot of tea at 8. Huh, 8. 8 ball.
If our podcast ever reaches that level of randomness, someone send us a quick DM, will you? Just let us know.
Someone send me to the fucking doctor, mate, because if that happens, I need to get seen right away.
Seen? What? See no evil. Came. Oh my god. I like the UK references here, such as, he was a crumpet away from victory here, Cole.
Now, you see, what I love about this is that when Jerry Lawler would come to the UK, he would, look up some basic UK slang, and then he'd just say it on commentary, where it's like, for us in the UK, I don't want to hear an American man just say the words fish and chips. That's not entertaining. Taz, all night, he keeps getting stuff wrong, like saying that something is a crumpet away, and that works so much better, because we're just seeing this buffoon trying to fit in properly.
It's like tough Brooklyn guy in fucking Manchester. And there's a point where he's like, I think he had too much of that brown beer they have over here.
Brown beer.
I can't get the image of Taz drinking a nice warm pint of brown Newcastle ale or whatever it is he was visualizing. But it is more endearing than them trying too hard, I think.
Yes, agreed. These two, I think if there's anything we can say about Cole and Taz, they're not trying too hard tonight. If anything, they're just kind of having fun.
Booker T went up and I was like, oh shit, is he going to do the Houston Hangover? The old spinning, dangerous guillotine leg drop. Well, he did a very scary looking missile drop kick after that instead. And it was like, oh, okay, I'm glad he didn't do that Houston Hangover because that would have probably ended quite badly for all involved. We get the old scissors kick. Booker T wins what I would describe as a top tier, nice little match.
Honestly, that's the exact kind of match where I was like, I wish I was in the crowd for that. That is a perfect show opener to sort of, the few occasions where I have been to see wrestling live, I know for a fact the first 5 or 10 minutes I'm always like a little bit, I'm a bit too anxious to chant or to shout anything.
You want to be warmed up.
You need to be warmed up, and this match is exactly perfect for that. By the end of this match, I would have been fucking screaming and getting well into it.
The amount of times where I went to fucking wrestling shows, it's like, here's your 8 hours of fucking 30 people, we don't have the heart to tell them they can't go 45 minutes, and it's one after the other after the other. I'm like, you know what? I don't actually fucking want this, please. Yeah. I'd like a bit of pace. And it was, Matt went for a rest hold too many, I think, in a match where you could count the bumps on your hand, but there you go, that's that European attitude for you. And at the end of this match, I can confirm that Taz and Michael Cole have now entered into what Billy Keeble would refer to as Big Silly. Taz makes himself laugh using the word alluding.
What?
He goes, alluding.
I don't know what happened that made me go from finding this shit really irritating to finding it really adorable, but I do find it adorable now. Like, I can't get enough of this silly Taz.
I'm a very, very silly boy. I'm a very, very silly boy when I get to see silly stuff like this as well in particular, and that's why I said that at the end of this, Booker T did a spinnerino, because it was very silly, all of this.
To be fair, this does need a name bigger than the Spinneroonie, because it wasn't just a Spinneroonie. He did the Spinneroonie, and then he ended on his knees and span on his knees like an extra 360. Like it was
The king size!
honestly, the most ooper duper Spinneroonie.
Ooper Rooney. Backstage, Paul Heyman is in the house, by which I mean Paul Heyman's in fucking Manchester, or the set of a porn, because when he walks, I mean, whoa. That really was a strange looking office for Stephanie McMahon to be in.
And this just goes to show as well, heel or face, it doesn't matter. Stephanie will always have the last laugh, and she will always no-sell whatever it is that Paul Heyman's shouting about.
What do you and your tiny little dick even want, Paul Heyman? And Paul's like, can you believe here in Manchester that the main event is now a handicap match? And in that handicap match, there are some things you might want to consider, like I could be pinned and Brock Lesnar could lose. The champion is, I love Heyman, is the master of, I'm scared and I gotta tell you all the permutations and the stipulations. Are you kidding me? That in this three-way dance, that one person will be eliminated, and then the two more competitors will be in the ring after that.
We learn in this segment as well, which I hadn't realised, this is the period of time where Undertaker's hand has been broken by Brock Lesnar. And
Heyman then has to explain that because of the flight to Manchester and the quick turnaround, he doesn't have his gear, he hasn't got his tights, he only has his $2,300 suit, Job over here demanding to be taken seriously for his match. I do like the idea of Heyman having like a silly wrestling outfit. I think if you're going to put the heel manager in a match, there's something about that I think you need to see them in some sort of a gimmick.
Honestly, Eric Bischoff in his gi, is the absolute best.
Fucking love it, because it just tells you a story about the character.
Yeah.
Heyman, the one thing I do like is later on Heyman, he tapes his fists up like he's in ECW, like he's going to be in a Type A death match or something like that, which I thought was really, really funny. But for me, even though he's a piece of shit, the god tier for this was Jim Cornette. They did a match back in the day between Cornette and Jose Lothario, who was this sweet old man they made manage Shawn Michaels, and he was a legend in wrestling and a legend in San Antonio. So Shawn Michaels hated him, and he's, I hate this guy. This old bastard's stealing my spotlight. Kill him. I hate him. I don't want anything to do with him. And it'd be great because Shawn Michaels would come out and Vince would be like, hey, Shawn Michaels and Jose Lothario. Wow, that's quite a bit of distance he's got between them there. Shawn walking a little bit faster than Jose. King, he can't keep up. But they did a match between Jose and Cornette. And Cornette was managing Vader, and Cornette was like, you don't want to mess with me, Jose, you don't know what you're getting into. And then when he had the match, Cornette came out in this big inflatable red suit that made him look like he was in like this special like dress up like Vader, and he had his tennis racket. He's like, I told you I'm huge. And he was wrestling this like he was the Michelin Man. He'd take the bump and be like, whoa! Wow. And he'd bounce around. It was brilliant. And I would have killed to see just a little bit more thought. Just a teeny bit more thought.
See, now you love that, but you didn't seem so keen on Michael Cole covering himself in bubble wrap for that fucking strap match, whatever it was he had in 2011.
Yeah, and the stipulation of this match is if I win, you have to lick my feet and get covered in barbecue sauce. Whatever the fuck weird rash shit that was going on.
Kinky shit.
Now rap with me, JR. Yeah, and Jerry Lawler, your mom's dead. Yeah, what the fuck was going on? That was 10 years ago. What the fuck was going on?
Fucking hell.
We cut back to Taz, who's cosplayed as Jim Leahy, winning Trailer Park Supervisor of the Year.
Bless. And Michael Cole with the fucking jet black hair. The frosted tips are no more, baby.
Nah, it's a new Michael Cole. This is Ruthless Aggression Michael Cole. Completely different. We had a little recap of the history between Dawn Marie and Al Wilson, and the music for this, where it's like, uh-oh, she's stealing her father.
What a wacky world we're living in, folks.
And like, I get that Heyman has this fucking unbelievable control over all performers to get them to. I'll always go back to Beyond the Mat. People always talk about this is the dance, that big hype up thing. But I've seen so many little clips now. I think we mentioned in a recent episode, they show you in some of these WWE documentaries, they pull the camera back, you get to see Heyman or whoever it is interacting with the person after the promo. And the amount of times where he literally grabs them, he's like fucking Joe Biden grabbing them, going like, look in my eyes, you can do this. I believe that you can. And Dawn and Tori are treating this like they're going for a fucking Oscar.
Yeah, honestly.
It's not a tongue-in-cheek read for Dawn and Tori. It is for Al a bit. These two women are trying to treat this like it's the most serious fucking thing in the world. And it's because of Heyman. This is a Heyman construct. What did you think of this storyline as it was presented to you? What was going on with Dawn, Tori, and Al?
I mean, I feel like I know the basic bullet points of this. This is all headed to a funeral, is obviously where we're going. You take one look at this storyline and you're like, oh, obviously it's going to end with this old guy dying.
Yeah,
like,
it's one nude wedding and a funeral. That's what this really bleak, depressing fucking angle is.
It's trash. Ever since I first heard of it, I thought, oh, this is a trash angle. It's complete garbage that they only do for the fucking sake of having something salacious and sexy on SmackDown. But what I hadn't realised is, like what you say there, Tori Wilson and Dawn Marie actually do fucking give it socks. And I feel like there's been a big misconception over the years, and I feel like especially in the first year or two of the podcast, I probably contributed to this. The idea that, like, the Ruthless Aggression era of divas wrestling, they weren't talented performers, they were just models that were brought in to look pretty or whatever. But
you
honestly,
can be a talented model, that's
it. Honestly, and I do feel like there are a subset of people now that are turning around and saying, well, actually, I used to find the diva stuff really enjoyable when I was a kid, and it inspired me to go on to become a wrestler or what have you. And I do feel like it's worth saying that, credit where it's due, Tori Wilson and Dawn Marie are at least engaging performers, and they're going into this with both feet. They're not fucking half-arsing it because they know it's a crap, trashy gimmick or whatever. They're actually giving it a good go.
Oh, yeah. I mean, compare and contrast this to, like, remember we watched some of the WCW stuff with Daphne and Stacy Keibler and David Flair? And they were, like, jumping up and down like it was a fucking kids show. It was ridiculous. Like,
so
they were
silly.
Intentionally making it as crap as possible. And, yeah, they are trying here. And a lot of things are bad about this angle, and in the context of the time, it was pretty ropey as well. Particularly when, they had gotten in hot water with the Parents Television Council, and now they felt like they were flaunting that they could do what they wanted. This was an angle that Heyman concocted, at least he had said in interviews, and Dawn had said as well, that the angle was kind of concocted to give Dawn Marie a foot in the door, because Heyman wanted to get a lot of the women from ECW, like Jazz and Francine and whoever it is, he wanted to get them jobs. And it was very difficult because, there wasn't much appetite for WWE to hire someone like Elektra or Francine or whatever. And, like, Dawn Marie, very frank and upfront, she was hired by Paul Heyman in the Bada Bing strip club. The strip club is featured in The Sopranos. That's how she got her foot in the door in wrestling. And she developed a passion for it, a love for it. She wanted to be involved. She wanted to go to WWE. And Heyman, it's one of those rare occasions of him actually going to bat for someone. And it not being, like, ulterior motives or whatever it may be. So whatever you say about this angle, it got her on TV, and she probably wouldn't have gotten on TV, and they wouldn't have done this angle without someone like Dawn Marie in there. It's, even by their standards, outside the pale. When she says the line to Al Wilson, out of the very few men that I've been with, you were the most passionate lover I had.
And then they have a big fucking snog.
Oh my god, it's so fucking ridiculous.
I feel like we've been very fair and complimentary there, but it is worth circling back round and just reiterating, this is fucking garbage, Kevin. Like, really, when it comes down to it, this is crap.
And the ridiculous thing about it as well is, like, there is no actual end game here, because they play it the whole time where Dawn Marie's like, I'm doing this to get to Tori Wilson. And it's like, okay, why are you doing it to get to Tori Wilson?
Yes.
And then they had it like, it was meant to be like a lesbian love angle. Surprise, surprise. Paul Heyman's twist was that it was a lesbian love angle. Who could have foreseen this coming? But then after they did that, no, the angle was that Dawn actually loved Al, and when she killed him by having too much sex, she was distraught and blamed Tori, and they had a stepdaughter versus stepmother match where Dawn appeared wearing a black veil because it was after the fucking funeral. They also had a brawl at the wake, which was fabulous.
wrestling.
Wrestling, baby.
We can't just be wrestlers that want to be the best wrestler or go for the championship. I guess there was no women's championship on SmackDown, was there? So you have to have shit like this.
So we have John Cena and Dawn Marie. There's an odds team taking on Tori Wilson and Billie Kay, and that's became a real life team, aka a marriage, and then they broke up.
Billy Kidman, that is, folks, not Billy Keeble or Billie Kay from the modern roster.
Oh yeah, you got to be joking me! I can't believe I make a mistake like that. When Dawn Marie comes out, once again, Michael Cole's there to fill in the blanks. She's a predator, Taz.
Jesus! Is she? Is that what that is?
That poor, vulnerable 58-year-old man. He's so vulnerable. He's like a little boy. This
Christ.
predatory young woman.
My God.
And here comes Taz once again, not really knowing what he thinks about all this, other than Tori Wilson's a tomato, Cole, and Dawn Marie, she's from Jersey, so she's a tomato as well, Cole. I like Dawn Marie. And he says, I wouldn't mind if my mother looked like Dawn Marie. Wait, what the hell am I saying?
Yeah, Jesus, what are you saying, Taz? Can we talk about this John Cena as well? Because Kevin, I think I don't like it. I really don't like it.
Well, I think you should calm down. What's wrong? Why do you like John Cena?
He's coming out in these weird little, like, almost Spirit Squad-esque green shorts. No reaction. Absolute silence. That weird fucking music as you demonstrated there. And it's not him at all. It's not even ruthless aggression, Cena. It's just this weird nothing character.
He's turned heel on Billy Kidman. There was kind of an overarching storyline in the background of this, which was there was kind of a tag team tournament they did for SmackDown's new tag team championships.
Right.
And they did the kind of Battle Bowl gimmick because, Paul Heyman would never take any sort of a gimmick from WCW or Dusty Rhodes or anything like that. Absolutely not. But they would have the unlikely pairings of partners. That's why later on you get Devon and Ron Simmons, and you also had John Cena and Billy Kidman team up, and they did the whole thing where in the match Kidman gets attacked by Cena because he gets annoyed with him not being a good partner.
Right.
So again, that's more great Heyman booking here. And it's funny how you can look at something that seems so simple and it'd be like, it's genius! Having a tournament that can take care of a lot of storylines in the back burner.
Yeah.
Man, that's some good, easy wrestling right there. I'd watch that up. That's why things like even the Mixed Tag Team Challenge, where you can tell a bunch of different stories at once. It's like what the Royal Rumble's good for. You can tell a bunch of stories at once.
It feels like nowadays when they do that, they do keep it as like a separate affair, like the mixed match. Was it mixed match classic or whatever?
Mixed match challenge.
The mixed match challenge felt very much like it was good. It was really good. You got these interesting pairings and little mini storylines and everything, but it did feel like it was a non-canon special event or whatever. Like it was separate from the main show. This here, you can see that SmackDown itself is being written like a TV show is written, and you've got all these stories that interconnect and like cross over with each other, but they are still also their own isolated, separate storylines at the same time. It's really good stuff, and quite frankly, you don't get it anywhere near as often as you should in WWE.
And how did Paul Heyman manage to produce a wrestling show that was like dynamic, different from what was happening on Monday Night Raw as well? That's most important. Well, what they wanted to do was create a sense of like actual competition between the brands. So they would have separate meetings between the Raw writing team and the SmackDown writing team.
I've heard about this.
And Heyman would hack the phones, as it were, and he would get himself onto the Raw calls and find out what was going on. And they only found out one time because he had a baby had just been born, and he fell asleep or something like that. He was up all night. And like they found him on the call, then he was asleep.
Right.
So yeah, poor old Heyman. But hey,
poor old Heyman,
working smart, baby. That's what it's all about. Tori Wilson welcomed into Manchester with the most Manchester sign ever. Tori Wilson, have it.
For fuck's sake, have it.
Have it was written as one word as well. Have it. Have it. Now, it is 2002, and we're going with some racy storylines. Michael Cole as the voice of reason and our collective conscience as watching. It kind of speaks to some of the gaps in what we're meant to think about this. Very early in the match, Dawn Marie, and they're doing the whole thing where Dawn's trying to hide from Tori. Dawn gets dragged into the ring by Billy Kidman. And Billy puts Dawn over his knee. And they're going to do the old, take her to the woodshed. Oh, boy. Take her to the woodshed. Yeah. Now, there's no shortage of spankings in wrestling, of men doing it to women. And I don't know if Dawn Marie's trying to fuck with everyone, but the way she screamed when she got spanked was far from titillating, let's just say. It was
yeah.
Get them out of the ring. Here we go. What the? Oh, you've been in that position before. Tell us what that feels like. In my opinion, Dawn deserves it.
it was like she was being stabbed over and over again.
Jesus.
And what does Michael Cole say at the sound of this woman shrieking for her life?
Oh, God.
Taz, in my opinion, she deserves this.
Jesus.
And I shit you not, a minute later, Cena does a body slam on Tori Wilson, and that ain't right, Cole. That's wrong, man. I don't agree with that. Me, the heel, telling you now this is out of line.
John Cena fucking slamming his fellow NSA colleague Tori Wilson here like a dirty prick. And this is intergender, not a mixed tag. Like, so this is all okay. This is totally above board in this world.
Yeah, it was very odd what happened here because Cena does the slam, and Michael Cole refers to it as a lowbrow maneuver, Taz. And then right after that, Cena gets low-blowed.
Yeah.
And Cena being low-blowed, now there's a sell, folks. Oh my God. you could put any sort of high-pitched whistling over that still image. Let me tell you, John Cena looks like he's found gold and he's whistling how happy he is when he takes that low blow. Cartoonish selling from Cena for the most part. Dawn and Tori, they do the rolling around spot like 2 or 3 times in this. They roll in and out with the ring. Like.
Yeah, Billy Kidman gets what I call the Jerry Springer spot, which is where you have 2 ladies just roll over you and somehow you get incapacitated from it.
Now, if you're meant to do the proper Jerry Springer spot, you do that and then you get up and you kind of shrug or you kind of go, whoa. Like sometimes the ref would do that and they like dust themselves off and be like, whoa, what happened there? Billy Kidman, it happens. And the woman who won't be his wife, her ass goes right in his face. And afterwards he gets up and does a, yeah, come on, baby, don't want some more, up against the ropes, like, you know, yeah, come on. Like a baby face with fiery, white, hot heat, firing up the crowd because he's had
a bum in his face.
A mistress roll over him.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, hey, Billy Kidman.
Fuck's Avis.
Avis. Oi.
Sorry, I hate to hold your feet to the fire on this one, Kevin, but I do need to correct you and just say that if it is a true Jerry Springer spot right there, then you have to get stretchered out of the building just like Jerry Springer was when that happened to him.
Wait, what?
Do you not remember the Bella Twins rolled over him? They did this exact spot. And it was like, oh boy, I bet Jerry Springer feels really lucky right about now. And then he got stretchered away.
And then it's like, and now for my final thought. And it's like that nice background in him on like, beep, beep, beep. We get from Billy Kidman that maneuver. We've talked about it before. Now, there's nothing nicer in the world, Adam, than a shooting star press. And Billy Kidman was the man for many years who was like, I'm the only one who can do this dangerous move.
Yeah.
And since then, everyone from Shane McMahon to Evan Bourne,
Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, shooting star presses have become a dime a dozen, and they've been done so well that you can look back on these ones and go, you know what, I was silly to appreciate what we had back then. And I rechristen it now, officially, the Shiting Star Press. Billy Kidman accepts your award for Most Dangerous Maneuver of 2002 as he lands once again thigh first onto the face of his opponent.
Fucking hell, that's it. It's so hard to try and aim yourself to land in a safe way.
To quote Billy Kidman's upcoming theme song, when I see that, all I can say is, nah, nah, hey, hey. Don't do it anymore, please. Why don't you do that BK bomb instead? That was a much cooler move.
The Burger King bomb, baby.
And then afterwards, he has a big kiss with Tori Wilson. Oh, no.
Oh, he gets a big snog in front of the crowd.
Backstage, Egg is interviewed by Michael Cole, who's here to talk about his egg army, and that's what I refer to as Sunday brunch when I've got a recording later.
Sake,
I'll make an egg army just to kind of get me through.
This is ropey shite here. I felt sure seeing Edge after he became King of the Ring in 2001. I was like, oh yeah, this lad is really close to being a babyface main eventer. He's got all the skills, and here, Jesus wept, this promo sucks.
It was so bad. I mean, I thought, I was taking Rob Zombie's word for it that he was a ringer number 45, but I will say with a
that's a Durango number 95. I'll have you.
Excuse me. My apologies. The one thing about this promo I will say that I did like was that it actually lowered my expectations. Because when I heard at the start, like Edge and Brock and Heyman, it's going to have enough gaga, it's going to have enough like solid wrestling and someone with something to prove, and Brock having a non-typical match. I was like, this is really exciting. Then Edge does this promo where he's like, kiss, man. And I'm like, all right, I don't know if I'm as excited about this anymore because he seems kind of nervous.
Yeah, he does seem nervous. He doesn't seem sure of himself. He says he's going to win tonight in front of the Manchester chapter of the Edge Army. Ooh. And the way he says it, you can tell that he knows this is never going to get over and he's going to give it up in a couple months.
Coming up next, very much in the, they love wrestling here, we can put any old shite in front of them. Hey, not that I'm complaining, it's Funaki taking on Crash Holly. Funaki is over as fucking Manchester, baby.
Well, not immediately. When he comes out, it's kind of silent, and the commentator's not even saying anything. He's just walking out to the ring really quietly. But then he gets on the mic, and I was like, oh no, this is going to be awkward. But everyone's well into his shtick. Like, he's doing the whole SmackDown #1 gimmick at the minute, and everyone in the UK seemingly is well on board with it.
I'll tell you what, I pray that anytime WWE goes to another country, we get fucking salient, on the nose, perfect verbiage like this for the UK. Funaki refers to himself as SmackDown's #1 announcer, but because tonight he's here in Manchester, he is SmackDown's #1 top man.
Top man.
Yes!
He's been to Top Man. He's seen all the things they've got on sale.
And Crash Holly coming out, and you haven't seen Crash Holly in a while. This guy's nuts, Taz. He's nuts. This guy's nuts. And then they talk about how he's got like 2 chickens, a couple of dogs, and a cat. Like, that's like meant to make him fucking mad. His menagerie of madness, brother.
That's crazy. He's also stopped dyeing his hair bleach blonde, and he's officially just Crash, not Crash Holly. Like, they don't say Holly at any point.
Oh, man, he does join up with the Mattitude era. And
really?
yeah, so Shannon Moore becomes the Mattitude follower, and then Shannon gets Crash as his moron, his Shannon Moore follower. And the best thing about it was that when Crash would come out, instead of having the Mattitude, like, you load up to the 100%, it would load up to like 25%, and then the Titantron would crash, and he'd come out with this like...
Okay, I do actually like that. That's good.
Oh, yeah, it's great. And he even did a little stint in TNA before he passed. He was like Mad Mikey.
Right.
And they did all these vignettes where he's like, oh, I'm angry at the world, cousin. You know, he'd like do road rage and he'd freak out in lines for things. Doesn't like being told that he's short. You know, oh, man. Crash, we said it before, one of the great performers of this era that just, man, before our time, what a great fucking legend. He was a legend in his own right, you know, and I really wish we got to see more of him. It was really sad. And seeing that he was in WWE for like kind of a year or two and they didn't do anything with him, that's the sad thing.
That's what is sad, is that we know he's capable of so much, and here he's coming out just looking so rudderless and directionless. It's really a shame. And,
you know, there was that period when you had the invasion and had all these guys come in, and I've listened to the likes of Lance Storm talk about this at length, about the weirdness of having all these guys coming in knowing that people are losing. At the very, at the best case scenario, people are going to lose spots. Worst case scenario, people are going to lose jobs, and both things happened. Mm-hmm. And then you get to this point where it's like, hey, it's the brand split now. We've brought back a few of the old names like Goldust and Godfather and Val Venus, and fucking Mr. Perfect's over on Raw. And we've managed to maybe bring in some of them WCW, ECW guys and work them in, but the people who lost out during your invasion, like Crash Holly disappeared, X-Pac disappeared, fucking, so many wrestlers kind of disappeared, S.A. Rios, like talented performers you had nothing for. D'Lo Brown, I could go on, and then it comes back, it's like, you know what, we have had a chance for a reshake, and we still have nothing for Crash Holly.
Yeah.
I don't get that, really. It's really sad. This match takes the fucking Gaga to the whole new level. It is headband on a pole, this match is. It's fucking shite.
Yeah, Crash pulls out a headband with like a little rising sun on it, and he wears it on his head, and he starts doing all these karate moves and everything. And then Funaki just kicks his ass.
It is funny. I feel like when Taz starts making fun of Crash for wearing the headband, he's like, hey, he's like Ralph Macchio and the Karate Kid. I'm like, you're like fucking Ralph Macchio and the Karate Kid. Have you seen that movie? And he's like, oh, the Cobra Kai is after me. I gotta get Joey Numbers and Hook and Powerhouse Hobbs after him. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, not much happens. We kind of go back and forth with the headband, a couple of kicks here and there. Funaki gets the roll up, he gets the win, a bit of a pop, send the crowd home happy, but there's a whole show to go still. And Nydia's in the house.
We see Nydia walking around backstage, and she walks past someone that works in the building and just does like the biggest fucking PU kind of face. And she goes and finds Jamie Noble, and they agree that everyone here smells really bad, and the women have got hairy arms. So let's win and get the fuck out of here back to God's country, West Virginia.
Now, I didn't know this, but apparently, like, West Virginia, some folks are telling me, West Virginia is just this punchline that's used often a lot in wrestling. It's kind of like, oh, it's the worst place. And I think West Virginia kind of is one of those places that kind of gets a bit of a bad rep. And, like, Jamie Noble being from West Virginia and Nydia, them together, that's meant to be like a pop at West Virginia. Oh, everyone there lives in a trailer, etc., etc. Interesting enough, Nydia, I know we talked about her a little bit in our Tough Enough reviews, and we're always a fan of Nydia here in the podcast. She came out of hiding, has done a few interviews in the last few months.
Really?
She has, yeah.
Oh, nice.
She talked a little bit about some of the ups and downs of being in wrestling, and random fact that I cannot believe is true. Nydia, at one point, got fined $10,000 for going to a Hooters with Victoria because Victoria was a face and Nydia was a heel.
What? $10,000? Get fucked.
Because, as we all know, 2002 and 3 was when we really had to keep the guard up about kayfabe.
Absolutely.
Fucking ridiculous.
We want everyone to think that the Katie Vick story was real, so we've got to be extra protective of our storylines these days, folks. Fucking hell.
Anytime anyone says the best part of their time in wrestling was in developmental and not on the main roster, that usually speaks kind of volumes to me. She had a lot of nice things to say about OVW and Nick Dinsmore and Randy Orton and Shelton Benjamin, the people she hung out with there. She didn't have much to say about her main roster run, let's just say. But again, I will always point out Nydia, for someone who's got, as many months wrestling experiences as I have fingers on my hand at this point, she fucking hit the ground running. Deep end, thrown in, a character that has to do a lot and be involved a lot. I thought she does a really good job here as this character.
Honestly, in terms of like the standards that we currently have nowadays for wrestling, she's not fantastic as like a character or a performer. But when you consider just where she came from and her background and how little time she's really had at this point, she's like fucking 18 months into her entire wrestling career at this point.
Crazy.
It's pretty fucking shocking how competent and how good she actually is.
And Jamie Noble here, just, I think he's a fucking unbelievably talented performer.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the people who fits in that category that as a kid I didn't really rate him because I'm like, he's the heel, boo. And now you realize, like, whoa, this guy, fucking incredible. The brains on him. And you can hear snippets here and there about random stuff that's happened to WWE in the last few years. Like, that was fucking awesome. Chances are Jamie Noble had a hand in it because that lad, here's an example, that amazing triple threat ladder match that they did with the handcuff spot and Sami Zayn and all that?
Yes.
That was all his idea. So, the man's a fucking fountain of knowledge, an absolute hell of a worker. And I thought that Jamie Noble did a grand package here. We have Rey Mysterio doing a breathe.
He's in his locker room. We can see him from behind, and he's just like going like, and then he turns around and gets his face right in the camera, and he goes, and then he runs away. Like, what the fuck's up with this dude?
Gave me big reject Shannon Moore, I'm bringing sexy back vibes to it. It was kind of awkward.
He's pretty much brand new at this point, right? In terms of WWE. Yeah.
Fresh out the packet is Rey Mysterio here. And you wouldn't mind, what a great fucking place to land on your feet. You're on SmackDown. They've got the new Cruiserweight division, which is he's going to be the basis of. You got Paul Heyman knocking around here at the helm, and he absolutely knows how to book Rey Mysterio. He was the first man to book Rey Mysterio in the United States. And I love that Heyman is so good at building characters with these little visual moments. Like, I always think of, seeing Lesnar, his back tattoo and him flexing, and you turn around. That's how you present a character. Rey's made him seem like he was a wrong'un here, something like that.
Yeah,
I didn't like
creepy.
it. If you see it, say it. And I've seen it, and I'm saying it. That's all I'm saying here. Rey was a bit of a creep at this point. Triple threat action. 3-way dance with eliminations in effect. Paul Heyman style. Tajiri, Jamie Noble, and Rey Mysterio. I am really, really excited about this.
Honestly, what a combination. We're going to see some fucking amazing wrestling from these three.
I forget who said it, Cole or Taz, but trying to save face. talking about how, they just insulted all the women in Manchester. Someone on commentary said, the women here are all gorgeous to some degree.
To some degree. Fucking hell. You can't just say something nice, can you?
You can't, can
Fuck
you?
me.
Very upset about the disrespect for the business that Rey Mysterio showed coming out wearing a hat.
Dude, wearing a beanie over his mask.
You disrespect this business. You piss yourself. Why are you coming out wearing this hat? Unbelievable. This is great. Fast and fancy action. All three men in the ring. I love this stuff. Absolutely. You got the flips of Mysterio, the kicks of Tajiri, and Jamie Noble fits that nice spoiler, the ground attack, the Tiger Bomb is his finisher. He's a great, what's the word? He's like a hench small guy. Like, you need those dudes, the bullies in the smaller weight class. Someone who's going to be in there to ground and pound and not necessarily to be doing flips and dives and all that stuff. Jamie Noble is the spoiler here, and it's great.
That's it. I like it because out of these three as well, he's the biggest character. He's the one that's always doing like the big stuff, like playing to the crowd and having the big moments with Nidia or whatever during the match. And his wrestling style, even though he's a cruiserweight, his wrestling style matches that perfectly. Like, he is more dirty, he's a bit more of a jerk, and he wrestles like it.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me a little bit of like Lil Guido in ECW, who became Nunzio. And here's a fun fact for all of you fact finders back at home. In kayfabe, Jamie Noble and Lil Guido, aka Nunzio, are cousins.
Huh, okay.
Which makes very little to no sense that the redneck from West Virginia has got a wise guy as his cousin.
Big family, mate.
A very big a broad church indeed, the Noble Guido clan. But that is how he was brought in. I've a lot of time for wrestlers being introduced as like long lost family members and stuff like that.
More of
that. Never forget that Ric Flair wanted to get into the sport of professional wrestling as Dusty Rhodes' cousin. Ramblin' Ricky Rhodes. I just want to be like you, Dust. I'm sorry. Oh man, Jamie Noble works the crowd here because they give him the "Who are you" treatment. He's like, I'm Jamie Noble, boy.
I know. He shouts, "What's my name?" and everyone just starts going, "Who are you? Who are?" It's so wonderfully British.
We get the Tiger Bomb pretty early on to Tajiri, and Tajiri is eliminated.
Yeah, I will say, when I saw that, Tajiri gets eliminated in, like, it feels like 2 or 3 minutes, and I was like,
yeah, he's gone quick.
Okay, I guess we're going to get a pretty short match here. But then the rest of it, Jamie Noble versus Mysterio, does go on for a good 10 minutes or so, I think. I feel bad for Tajiri getting kicked out so soon.
That's Heyman 101, and
really?
Tajiri, who was part of Heyman's, like, Heyman loved to put on them three-way dances. That was like the mainstay of his later shows, 99 onwards in particular. So Tajiri is probably more than used to being in a three-way dance where someone leaves after a minute. What Heyman would like to do sometimes, his dusty finish or whatever it is, his kind of one of his tropes was that he would do the three-way dance, the champion's in there, the champion's the first guy out after like a minute, and then it's like, whoa, we're going to have a new champion?
That's different. That's more exciting, that is, yeah.
Here, it just kind of feels like you wanted to do Jamie Noble versus Rey Mysterio, and you also wanted to get Tajiri on the card, but not that much.
Yeah, legit. At least he got a payday.
Jamie works Rey's arm, and Cole, with the line of the night, Jamie Noble seems to be turning Nidia on, Taz.
Oh, Jesus wept. No. Oh.
The ECW faithful are here tonight in Manchester, but there's not enough of them, so they can't decide whether they want to chant "she's a crack whore" or "she has herpes." So we get "she's a herp whore," and that doesn't really do much for anyone in the crowd. So cool job, everyone. Once we get into the stretch, Nidia starts interfering loads, and I think there is a subtle art to being the person who interferes loads and it doesn't seem shit. And we came across a lot of that in the Attitude Era Season 1.
Tennessee Lee.
With some legends of the wrestling business. And Nidia, you know, with her few months to train or whatever, I think she does really good. The breakups, the near falls, the ref distractions, it gets the crowd into it. The crowd feel like they want to shit on this because they don't know who Jamie is. And they earn the crowd's support, I think, as the match goes on.
That's it, yeah. I feel like the crowd really couldn't give a fuck about this. They obviously like Mysterio, but they couldn't give a fuck about Noble. But the interplay between Noble and Nidia is so easy to follow and easy to understand that they can't help but get into it by the end of this match.
We have the Tiger Bomb by Noble, and Rey kicks out of it, and once again, Heyman's hands all over this. You can hear them be like, oh, no one's ever kicked out of the Tiger Bomb. I'm pretty sure. I say, all right, okay, every fucking little moment like this we have to embellish to the max. I don't think it means a lot here for the fans in Manchester that someone is kicked out of Jamie Noble's finisher that isn't over yet.
I also bet this doesn't count, and like next time someone kicks out of a Tiger Bomb in America on TV, then that'll be the actual first time someone's ever kicked out of the Tiger Bomb.
And I guarantee you by the time that happens, Jamie Noble will have a new finisher because nothing screams, I'm a redneck from West Virginia, like a finisher called the Tiger Bomb. Nidia assists Jamie with a quick roll-up. He manages to get the pin on Rey Mysterio. And then to send the crowd home happy, we got a 619 to both Jamie and Nidia at the same time, which they call, that's going to be a 12-21-18, Cole. And it's like, no, it's a 12-38. 619 plus 619 is...
I think they did.
I showed my workings.
Yeah, he's literally got the workings there. I think they weren't looking at it as 619. They did like 6, 1, 9, 12 to 18.
Could you imagine going to a restaurant with these pricks? Could you fucking no, you see what it is I added up the 1 and the 0, so I don't owe you $20, I owe you 2. Fuck off. Come on here. Backstage.
But you know what? You fit in quite nicely here in England. With your bad teeth and all.
You're just too funny, Kurt. You know what? You're damn lucky Stephanie's stipulation suspension is in effect tonight. Because if it wasn't,
I'd kick your ass right here, right now. Oh, is that so?
Yeah, you're damn right. Listen, we've got to defend these WWE tag team titles tonight. So you just follow my lead, and we'll be just fine.
You kick my ass? Well, you got it all wrong, pal. Because it'd be me kicking your ass. Oh, it's true. It's bloody freaking damn true.
Oh, this was golden. I love this.
God. I loved and hated this in equal measure, I'm not going to lie.
Why did you love it? Why did you hate it?
I loved it because Kurt Angle is so good and so charismatic. I hated it because Chris Benoit is so weird and so fucking awkward. Like, I can't help but every time I see Benoit, even in 2002 here where he's well established, I still get the sort of quote the Crippler no more vibes of like, oh, he's not quite there. He's not confident in this.
Oh, I think it was just more a little bit creepy because when they started him doing sing-song stuff...
That's it. He says to Kurt Angle, like, who won at Unforgiven? Who beat you on SmackDown? It's like, dude, you're the fucking rabid Wolverine. What the fuck is this?
Oh, see, you think it's kind of kiddie and childish.
I hate it.
For me, like, let's just play that clip of Benoit again, but I'm going to play a discordant Jack in the Box winding up slowly.
Who won at Unforgiven? Who won at Unforgiven? Who beat you on SmackDown? Who beat you on SmackDown? That proves that I am the better wrestler, which makes me the team captain.
You know what I mean? It's just...
That's only because it's Chris Benoit. That's the only reason why that
is.
works.
You're going to keep on your network. It's going to fucking come up, isn't it? Like, you know? So... Kurt is annoyed with Benoit because they are mismatched tag team partners who both want to be the team captain. I know this is something we see a lot in wrestling. You know, I'm the tag team champions. I'm the tag team champions. But the important thing about this is the trope is never the issue when you're doing the same thing over and over again. I think oftentimes the issue is finding characters that give a unique spin on this trope.
Yes.
That's why Team Hell No and this is completely different.
Exactly.
These guys are so competitive and they hate each other because they want to be the best and they can't kind of, their brain doesn't work in thinking that you could have a partner to share that with. And it's different with the likes of Bryan and Kane and stuff when you do that other ways. I think it works well here because I feel I get a better sense of Benoit and Kurt's character in this little package. Because after Kurt's big face run and his kind of heel turn and all that jazz after the invasion, I think he's a bit damaged goods character-wise. I think they kind of turned him back and forth a little bit just for the ease of booking. And this gave you a real, like, here's a little bit of the lovable Kurt Angle that you all like, but a little bit of that intense, nasty Kurt Angle we're going to see more of in the next few years as we go forward. Because these two here, like, they're playing it for yucks, but it feels like it's going to explode at any second.
That's it. I feel like Kurt is so capable of comedy, and I just feel like Benoit really hasn't got the comedy chops. You could easily just keep this as like a relatively, it doesn't have to be fully serious storyline, but you could do it in a way that's not like so based on humor, because it is a great, like, they've got great chemistry as wrestlers, and this is a great story that they're trying to tell with these two. It's just stuff like Kurt says that Benoit's got bad teeth like everyone here in England.
Oh!
Benoit's response is he goes, ha 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 ha, you're so funny, Kurt. And it's like, dude, come on, just smack each other or something. This stuff you're doing now is so lame.
How many teeth do you have?
Stop it.
Mary had... Sorry, I'm just doing the boogeyman now, I realised. I wrote down here, it's Van Damme! True. Which is usually what happens when Kurt Angle says something so cringy, I can't bring myself to write it down.
Well, thankfully I did. It was, oh, it's true. It's bloody freaking damn true. And I got a serious flashback to Shane Douglas in the WWA going, cut the bloody damn music!
Then tonight, everyone here is going to be legendized! Yeah, baby. Coming up next on Velocity, it's Val Venus and Chuck Palumbo taking on Devon and Farouk. Sorry, I've just received a word in my ear. It's the Big Valbowski and Chuck Palumbo taking on Devon and, get this, Ron Simmons. So we've had a few name changes. Oh my god, Devon Dudley in the weeds here. His common name.
Right.
Got no gimmick. His common name.
Devon comes out with his Reverend Devon music, wearing regular Devon clothes. Farouk doesn't get his own entrance. He comes out with Devon under the name Ron Simmons.
They both look furious as well.
Honestly, all four of these guys look angry. Chuck Palumbo comes out to Val Venus's porn star music. Val Venus not wearing a towel, not doing the porn star gimmick, but also he is now known as the Big Valbowski officially.
And they keep calling him Valbowski as well.
Yeah. Why do none of these men have gimmicks? What's going on in here?
Maybe it's because they had too much of that brown beer here tonight, Adam. I don't know.
Fuck's sake.
Now, I want to tease apart a couple of things here because, surprisingly, there's not a lot to talk about in this match. And if you think we're going to waste our breaths talking about Val Venus, who thinks that everyone's a paedophile, well, no. We won't be talking about that freak on this podcast ever again in any sort of capacity other than his matches. Devon Dudley, did you catch what the shirt said?
No, what did it say?
So it was the fish, the Christian fish, and on it said Devon, and on the back it said, "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone."
Okay, so you could just take sections of the Bible and make that your gimmick now, I guess. I thought he was going to make it into a pun or something.
So no, he is still Reverend Devon here. He is Reverend Devon, and we know this because after the match he does his Reverend Devon dance, which is this.
Oh, that's part of the Reverend gimmick, because I thought that was just him being weird.
No, it's the Reverend Devon gimmick. You know what? I think the Reverend Devon gimmick, and it's so fucking stupid I'm saying this, I really liked it when I was a kid. I absolutely did. I thought it was great, mainly because of the way they introduced it. Because the Dudley Boys got split up in the draft, and Vince McMahon did it, because he was like, Rick's like, I'm going to take Bubba Ray because I want the Dudleys. And Vince is like, well, fuck you, I'm taking Devon. And Devon came in, and he was like, why did you do it? Why did you broke it up? And he's so broken up. And then the next week, Vince is like, you want to fight me, pal? And Devon's like, oh, I thought I wanted to fight, but then I spoke to the man upstairs. Testify. And I'm like, yeah, because Devon always did say testify. He did. Thou shalt not this and that. And it was like Devon always had this evangelicism in the back of his mind, and without his brother, it took over his whole brain. And then it was like Devon kept raising money for the children's fund, and they cut in SmackDown him walking around going, give money, my brother, testify. And Batista would have all the money in a lockbox.
Yeah.
but he was stealing the money, wasn't he? Because he was stealing the money. Now, this was pretty much what the Brother Love gimmick was back in the 80s. And they were like, we wanted to satirize the likes of, Billy Graham and these kind of evangelical Christians who were taking money.
I was going to say, this is also exactly what fucking George South did in real life when the Hardy Boys were working for him as children. Because he was like raising money for a homeless orphan and then just put it all in his pocket at the end of the day.
Now, if you want to know my thoughts on Catholicism and all that jazz, I've got another podcast called Cinema Swirl. But like, I remember liking it as a kid because I thought, yay, I'm seeing something that's dominating my life being satirized.
Yeah.
But it was probably in poor taste. And also, like, where do you go with this? And the fact that Devon is here, seemingly between gimmicks, wearing like army fatigues and teaming with Ron Simmons, who, by the way, has just no gimmick. He's just working heel tonight for no reason.
So is Ron now anti-masturbation as a result of tagging with Devon? Has he been converted or something?
I must be they've come around and he's seen the light, because you're right, Reverend Devon did get interrupted by Ron Simmons, who was like, very famously, loved masturbation.
Loved masturbation.
But they were put together in the tag team turmoil. I think it was kind of like, oh yeah, I kind of, we're a good team. We should get rid of our gimmicks and be shit.
I honestly, it's got to just be WWE's classic thing that they still do today, where it's like, these guys are both black. Let's put them together.
Yeah.
They must have loads in common. They do it all the fucking time, non-stop.
Val Venus and Chuck Palumbo, they both like women.
Oh god, I forgot that's part of Chuck's character now.
Chuck Palumbo's character, he's just one of the guys. That's it, like, he's one of the dudes. This is a fucking shite
it's
match.
So rubbish. You can tell all four of these lads couldn't give a fuck about being here.
And I kind of, I would always, in SmackDown Crawl, would go to bat for Val Venus as an in-ring performer around, that time period. We've just come past his great feud with Rikishi, all the stuff he did with Trish and TNA. Probably the best work of his career, as far as I'm concerned. And I always thought, well, he's a good hand. You can put him in there in any situation, and he'll make sure you have the WWE standard match. And look, yeah, it's the UK. You're still on pay-per-view. The miscommunication timing, it was really poor. Really poor.
This is shocking, because as much as I don't give a fuck about these four gimmickless lads, and they clearly don't give a fuck about being here, there's a lot of talent still in the ring here. There's some capable men. I'm not a big fan of Chuck Palumbo, but the other three at least, they're very capable wrestlers.
Devon, always have a lot of time for. Ron Simmons, I think, is a truly exceptional athlete, and I think he's a legend in wrestling. And
he is.
Is that the best? I mean, it's so weird to see Ron Simmons at this age working heel and being like, "What are you going to do about your boy now?" Like talking to the crowd as a heel. Like, this is just wrong. Like,
He's wearing tights that say Ron Simmons on them.
It's so
weird. Just call him Farouk. That's what everyone knows him as.
It's coming out here. These lads literally coming out here looking like they've gotten the rights for their image, but not their gimmicks for some shitty mobile wrestling game that's coming out. Download Ron Simmons now as part of the Platinum Pack with his iconic finisher, the Ron Simminator.
We get a line from Taz here on commentary that, like, it's racist, but also I just want to say that it's very inaccurate as well, because he's saying that, like, I saw Ron Simmons backstage earlier and he said damn because he found out they don't sell fried chicken here in the UK. Mate,
Yikes!
There's a fucking AFC, SFC, or a TFC, whatever you want, on every fucking corner in England. You can't move without finding fried chicken around here.
Come on, yeah, seriously. And this is, you're talking about Manchester, right? And I will go to bat to defend the fast food of Manchester. This is the house that fast food fucking built, all right? This is the town that gave us burger slush and burgergasm, okay? Talking fucking mess. And yeah, I mean, it's good that you bring that up, because that I didn't catch that. I that skimmed over my head. Like, I didn't hear it when I was watching. And in fairness, the NWA television show, that got derailed when Cornette said something to that effect.
Yeah, Jesus, you're right.
The difference was that was in 2019 or 2020, so I guess,
couple decades difference there.
Couple of decades difference there. The crowd start doing the worst thing that can happen with a hot crowd in the UK. They start cheering about any old shite, and we don't know what it is.
Yeah, there's a bit where Chuck Palumbo starts doing like some boxing jabs. Like, he's got his guard up and he's doing proper jabs.
Like a proper mate, a proper bloke.
The crowd goes apeshit, even to the point where Taz and Michael Cole are like, wow, the crowd seem to really like boxing, Cole. And then he does it again, and the crowd don't make a peep, and Taz is like, oh, I guess they didn't like it after all. Like they're literally just openly talking about how weird the crowd is.
There's definitely a fight happening in the stands or something.
Something's got a beach ball or something.
Well,
Like,
maybe they got that new shipment of brown beer in here. Maybe
for fuck's sake.
a couple of warm ones with the boys. You know.
Stop it.
Oh, here we go. All right, so we get the roll up and Chuck Palumbo. It was less the fucking full moon and more the third day in Majora's Mask. This, Jesus fucking Christ! You want to see the inside of Chuck Palumbo? You want to see a fucking trans section of Chuck Palumbo's interior? There you go.
Honestly, there's an art form to doing the exposed bum. Look at Triple H. You expose about like half, 2/3 of the arse. Nuh-uh. Devon gets a big fucking handful and shows us basically the anus of Chuck Palumbo.
For me, it goes Rick, then Triple H, then Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels, the ego comes. I'm not rating their asses, by the way. That's a different list.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm rating their ability to incorporate the bare ass into the match. And obviously, the ring general Triple H likes to pop it in now and then. I think Shawn Michaels, unfortunately, a little bit of the ego got in the way there. It kind of clouded the ass a little bit in terms of a gimmick.
I was just thinking about that train wreck DX match in Saudi Arabia. How it would have been like, I gotta call an audible. I think we should expose our bums to get him back on our side.
And oddly, Mr. Ass rarely, if ever, incorporated into the match.
Very rarely. Unless he's just won a match and he's really gassed and he just pulls his pants down creepily like a fucking weirdo.
You imagine poor Billy Gunn for years in DX and Triple H is like, and don't you forget, pulling the pants down is my gimmick.
Don't do any of that ass shit out there.
You be thankful that you call yourself Mr. Ass to begin with. Backstage, whoa, how did they jack into the feed? It's Eddie Guerrero and noted hacktivist Chavo Guerrero.
They're saying that everyone on this European tour has been so friendly and so nice to them. They couldn't be happier or more grateful with the gracious response they've received from everyone.
Is that why Eddie's got a fucking black eye? Like, what happened
I know,
there?
proper shiner on him. Fucking hell. But they're delighted, they're over the moon, and Eddie says, we got to tell Grandma to come here. She's got to see it herself. She needs to come and visit Germany. And Chavo's like, nah, mate, we're like in Ireland or something. Like they're clearly just not paying any attention to what's going on around them at any time.
And it almost feels like in this where, like, Guerrero's both Eddie and Chavo, and I think I will say I want to point out Chavo Guerrero, someone who I think really... recent years, we rarely get a chance to talk about Chavo. Recent years, he's someone where I'm like, you know what? He's probably one of the great fucking wrestlers of his day that was never put in a spot where he would rise above being a grand hand, you know, and all that. But I think he's absolutely fabulous. Very telling recently, CM Punk was asked in an interview what his favorite match was, and he's like, oh, Chavo Guerrero, unquestionably. We did these 2 out of 3 falls matches on the house show loop to fill time, and he was so pro, we could go out there and do literally anything because he was probably the most professional guy on the roster at the time. But they can pull out a promo out of their rear end, and it's almost like someone's like, you need to go along. Because after they drop they call the UK Germany, which, from my experience here, you're not going to get much more like, you fucking what, than that.
You end the promo with that, surely.
No, that's not a setup for, do you remember the Alamo? Because we remember the Alamo, and the crowd in the UK are like, we don't. We don't even learn about the shit that happened in our country, yet alone your country.
Honestly, you expect way too much of us.
We know about horrible histories and the Dark Ages, because that's all you get taught about. Not like any of the other shit you're involved in, including America and the other countries surrounding you. Do you remember the Alamo, Adam?
I remember that Billy Gunn wanted Michael Hickenbottom to meet him there. That's about the extent of my knowledge of the Alamo.
The UK, the educational system has failed you when TWC has and the Wrestling Channel and TNA have given you more of a background than your education system.
They start fucking talking about like burritos and chimichangas and shit, like, and beans and how people don't even refry their beans, and like
they run down the biscuits here. They're like, oh, they call them biscuits over here. Whoa.
I mean, we've said before, this has got to be offensive. I don't know if it's my place to say this is outright offensive, but surely this has got to be in bad taste. But the one thing I can say is that looking in the eyes of these two, I do genuinely believe that Eddie and Chavo are having a great time doing this stuff together. It looks like they're having a ball.
Oh, I mean, Chavo has spoken I mean, Eddie did as well when he was still alive. They spoke at great length about how the Los Guerreros thing. It's what they always wanted to do. It's like they're just let's just get to do our shtick, have the types of matches we want to. Heyman at the helm, like they're pretty much golden here in terms of what they want to do and the ability they are to do it. I don't know if it's like fair to hold them to task or if it's probably more WWE to task for using stuff like that. The one thing I will say about it, and forgive me, my details on it are somewhat sketchy, but I guarantee I remember this to be true because I was on holiday at the time. I was like 14 or 15 and I was on holiday and it was raining constantly for a few days. So I was inside watching CNN and VH1, and that's all I did for like 2 days. And there were a couple of wrestling shows they put on VH1. They weren't like actual wrestling shows. It was like countdown of all these wacky moments in wrestling. And I think it may have been something that they were tying in because Hogan Knows Best was coming on their screens at the time on VH1.
Okay.
So they thought, let's prep the groundwork. Let's do a few wrestling team shows. Because, I don't know if you watched much VH1 back in the day. They loved to do the top hits of the 90s with the talking heads of people being like, blah, blah, blah. I can't remember this happened. They extended into media. They had one about stereotypes in wrestling.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I swear to you this is true. And they were talking about how WWE, and they had footage of it as well. They talked about how WWE used to use people like the Iron Sheik. And I remember I couldn't believe I was watching it. I was in Italy at the time as well, watching it on VH1. And Eddie Guerrero showed up and he's like, I'm Eddie Guerrero. And at the time he was WWE champion. And he's like, the character I play is a stereotype of the good old Latino guy who's out there with his lowrider and talking about all this, all this mess. And he's like, it's an over-the-top exaggeration. It's a stereotype. It's not who I am. It appeals to the audience. It didn't feel like he was slating it or defending it because it had that, if you've seen VH1 or these types of shows, it had that like, it's been edited a lot to kind of fit into something with a music track in the background and to squeeze into 90 seconds. So the nuance of it is gone, but he is aware that he's playing a stereotype at least.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this all the way back when he was with China. Eddie and stereotypes, that was his career. Like, that was a big part of it. And when it's heel heat, it usually is a little bit more cringy than when he's a face.
Yeah, agreed. I don't think it's up to us as two white blokes to say whether or not
Absolutely
this is okay.
not.
It's not one of those situations where it looks like they've been forced and told, go out there and say this nasty shit or whatever. It looks like these two are more than happy to be doing this role and they're having the time of their lives doing it.
Yeah, and I don't know if Manchester or England will ever overcome the burn of you don't even refry your beans here. But
hey, they sponsor our box office presentations, you motherfucker. Leave our beans alone.
Now, why do you think these shows stopped? This is because of this.
The beans dried up, mate.
And my main takeaway from it, though, was, Jesus, lads, for all of our sakes, wrap it the fuck up.
Yeah, too long. Too long.
Hey, you got a nice big shot of the Manchester Evening News Arena.
There it is.
Hey.
We live there.
We do. We live in the arena itself. Coming up next. Oh, let me get some of that fucking heel Albert theme, please. And you know what? There's one thing missing from heels, and this is why they don't have heat. They ain't got the harmonica going.
Oh, mate.
And this music can only indicate the arrival of Albert, who's got a kiss my ass match with Rikishi.
Big, hairy Albert comes out for his kiss my ass match. My partner Alice walked in literally as we've got big naked Albert stood at the top. He's hairy and he's oily and he's got barely any clothes on.
And as he's coming out, Taz goes, "Do you think Albert's ass is pierced, Cole?"
Ah, Jesus Christ.
Now, I once saw someone with a pierced cheek, and it looked like the most sore fucking thing in the world, and it just looked like an infinite vortex of infection and scratchiness. A pierced ass cheek, I don't know, man.
No,
I don't know. That just seems like it'd be sore.
I enjoy sitting down, and I don't want to do anything that could potentially ruin the act of sitting down for me.
I want to ruin all my ass grooves. What the fuck?
But I had to explain to Alice the difference here is like, no, this is a kiss my ass match. Even though it's set in the UK, this is clearly a kiss my ass. The kiss my arse match that you're thinking of took place in America. It's because Sheamus was in it that it had to be a kiss my arse match.
Oh, I thought it was officially that was kiss my arse. My head it's kiss me hole. That's like and doll, if you're gonna get down there now, so you are, and you're going. Hey everyone! I managed to find a way to make it less sexy and more awkward. Yay! Who says there's no value in going back on those old shows from 2012?
Fuck me. Oh, jeez.
And when Albert grabbed the microphone, I was fucking vibrating here. I was humming. I was
Yeah.
like, say it. Say kiss my hairy ass. Say it, say it, say it, yes! And then he's like, you're gonna kiss my hairy ass. Like, yes!
Did you catch his little gimmick at the end as well? I think he wants this on a t-shirt.
It was like, yes, ladies, I sexy, yes.
all this body hair of mine, everything you see, is 100% al natural.
You know what, Paul Heyman? He's tried. He gave him Moira Miz